Hi you guys, it's your girl Sharday. Welcome back to my channel. If you are new here, I create content on nursing school and all of the little nuisances of the program. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. Today's video, we are going to get into the hidden expenses and fees of nursing school that not many people talk about. When you're applying to a program, typically they give you an outline of what tuition costs are going to be, sometimes what your books are going to cost, but you really don't get a full picture of what your actual expenses are going to be because there are so many additional expenses that go into nursing school. So today we are going to get into that. I'm definitely going to leave a list right here so that way you guys can follow along, actually see the numbers if you are a visual person. Let's talk about it. So the first expense that I want to talk about is just the fact that you won't have the same amount of income while you're in nursing school. So a lot of these expenses can sometimes feel like a lot, but a lot of people while they're in nursing school are unable to work full-time or work the same amount of hours that they're able to outside of nursing school. So these expenses can really become a burden if you're not prepared for them and if you don't save up for them and have the finances for them. So the first expense that I want to get into are books. So in total, I have spent approximately $2,000 in books. Now, you would think, why buy brand new books? Why not buy used books? Why not rent books? Unfortunately, in nursing school, they are very strict about the resources that they use. It's not like how nursing school used to be traditionally where you could use books and purchase them from old nursing students. Now, a lot of programs are attaching a lot of their case studies, a lot of the virtual simulations, and even your homework is attached to your book resources.
Oh my God, corny, lame, boo, tomato, 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 I'm throwing tomatoes.
So a lot of them are paperless and you have to purchase them brand new. There's no way to buy an ebook used. The books also expire, so it's really not even an investment to look back on and or even help you with the NCLEX depending on when you take your NCLEX. A lot of these resources expire in a year, in 2 years, or even less, or 6 months. So it really just depends on what type of resources they have you guys buying. The books are very, very, very expensive in addition to tuition. Now I want to get into the things that you have to wear because this is mandatory. A lot of nursing programs require you to be in uniform. You have to have a specific scrub, a specific color. There's a few things that go into that. So my scrubs ended up being about $30 for a top and about $25, $30 for the bottom. So I ended up buying, I want to say 3 pairs. You're looking at $180 for your uniform. Also for your shoes. My shoes, I believe on the cheaper end, I think I spent about $75, $80 for my shoes. They're very basic. I can insert a picture here. They're very basic and it has to be a specific shoe, so that's also something to consider.
And we're back, yeah. Oh, what the hell? What the hell is this? Oh, it got a cave.
You also need to have a stethoscope. That is probably going to be one of your more expensive purchases, and it is required. Moving on, I want to get into the nurse packs that we have. I'm actually not going to show you guys just because schools are really like getting strict about copyright and sharing really deep into the program, so I'll just keep it very vague. The nursing packs include fake medications, fake vials, syringes, catheters, everything that you may need to practice on and use as your checkoffs for your skills are in these packs. Now, when I purchased my nurse pack, I thought that this was gonna be my nurse pack and that was it. The nurse pack was $70. And you do have late fees if you don't purchase your nurse pack in the time frame that they give you. There is a nurse pack for each semester for my program, so it's $70 every semester on top of tuition, on top of things that I have to get in order. So that's something to consider as well, especially if you already feel spent out, you already feel like you already have a lesser income, you're doing all of these things for nursing school. This extra $70 expense can sometimes be an annoyance and can sometimes be a burden on families. Moving on to the next expense, transportation costs. Now, I do not live on campus. Of course, this video is tailored to an ADN program at a technical school, community college, whatever you want to call it. So this is actually on the cheaper end of a nursing degree. When you get into BSN and masters and all that other stuff, that's a whole different ball game, and I can do a separate video of the expenses of the bachelor program. Transportation costs, and always having gas in your car, always making sure that your car is running, because you have to be at places and it's almost impossible, very, very difficult to have to rely on somebody. You definitely want to make sure that you're taking care of your car, which we all know that cars can be expensive. So that includes tires, that includes oil changes, that includes gas, and anything else that you may need for your transportation. So always keep that in mind when you're going into the nursing program, that your car may be an extra expense that you may not be expecting during your program. Now let's get into compliance. So compliance is super, super, super important. Without it, you cannot graduate or move forward into the next block. Compliance is important for your clinicals, obviously, and you know clinicals are mandatory by the state. So compliance can include buying additional resources that these compliance people use. My school uses TrackPrack, and they also use My Clinical Exchange, and both of these programs are costly. You can buy a 6-month subscription and you can buy a year subscription. So if you think about it, let's say that you purchase the year subscription for both of them. Both of them run about $45 a piece for the year, so that's $100 for the year. Renewing these subscriptions that are required of you can be an additional expense in nursing school, especially when you feel like you've already spent and bought everything. There's always something around the corner to purchase and to renew. In conjunction with compliance, okay, are doctor's visits. Okay, so in order to be in compliance, you have to have your flu shot, you have to have your MMR, you have to have your TB test done, you have to have your COVID test, you have to, or COVID vaccination, sorry, you have to have a physical. There are many things that you have to have that requires a medical professional to sign off on and to complete the paperwork. Depending on, so my copay is $25, so it was a little bit doable, but it still was costly because some of these vaccinations and shots require you to come back for a second visit, and that is also a charge to your insurance. So I go to school with students who do not have insurance, so you can only imagine for each shot it costs them $150, $180 to get done, or even depending on what their copay is, it became extremely costly for them to get all of these requirements done in such a short time frame. That's the thing, you can't, sometimes some of these requirements can't be spread out over time. Sometimes you need to have all of your shots done in a 3-week, 4-week time frame, so you can only imagine the sacrifices that have to be done to make sure that you're in compliance, make sure that you have all of your shots updated. Mind you, some of these vaccinations last 7 years, or you know, your 2 years that you're in the program, but you always have to be in compliance. So if there's a shot that needs to be renewed every 6 months or every, you know, flu season, that is something to consider when you're in the nursing program, your medical expenses. You will also have to do a drug test in nursing school, and it is not paid for by the program. Nothing is paid for by the program. They're just basically like, you know. Drug tests cost about, I wanna say $70 to $80 range. You also have to have a background screening, which could cost you about $60 to $70. And that's just something that you just have to do. Thankfully, some of these things are a one-time expense, but an expense nonetheless that has to be paid, so I definitely want to make sure that I'm mentioning it. Additional resources such as books, such as study materials, such as questions, NCLEX prep. So a lot of the times in nursing school, we have to teach ourselves. So sometimes the teacher's style doesn't necessarily connect to your learning style. So I find that a lot of students have to purchase drug guide questions to prep on that have rationales with them, you know, because sometimes the college will provide some type of resource, but sometimes it's not always helpful to the way that you learn. And sometimes you just want a little bit more variety of questions. Let's say that the questions that they give you are really heavy on med-surg, but right now you have a lot of psych stuff going on, or you have a lot of OB stuff going on and things like that. So we're always looking for the next best thing to help us learn in nursing school. So that can definitely start to pile up over time, especially when you're in class with other people with different materials and they're like, oh yeah, I love this one, it's amazing. So you're like, oh, I need it, I need this, I need that. You always feel like you need something because you're looking for any and everything to help you make nursing school a little bit easier for you, up your grades a little bit and things like that. So I definitely had to tell myself to stop purchasing resources and just use what I have. There's also resources such as Simple Nursing, UWorld, Picmonic, things of that nature that are very costly. I was looking at UWorld because a lot of Black Force students have recommended it to other people, and sometimes a lot of them like to split the expenses and the cost between a group, like a 2-year, or not even 2 years, like a 1.5-year subscription for UWorld, and it was like $400. Simple Nursing, like $300, $400. Like it's extremely expensive to have other people teaching you this content if your instructor is not really tailoring towards your learning style. And also you only have a moment in class to hear what the instructor has to say. So sometimes you want that extra control of being able to go back and rewind and move forward and ask, you know, and do questions related to the content that you're studying. So that's why a lot of students always purchase additional resources, but it can be extremely expensive. So hopefully universities and colleges will move toward having some type of partnership with these different programs and with these different companies, so that way students can have some type of discount, because I mean, we already go through enough. The last thing that I want to say that is not specific to each individual nursing student, it may vary, but I definitely found that I was spending more money on food because I'm always on the go. If you don't have a lot of discipline in meal prepping or feel like or love cooking, you know, in your downtime, you can start to see that the food expenses start to add up. I also want to add in that we tend to forget about our maintenance expenses and budgets while we're in nursing school. Is super hard to do because, like I said, your income has decreased, and so that extra money in your pocket that you may have spent on your hair, that you may have spent on your nails, that is no longer easily available to you. So sometimes you have to sacrifice here and there to make sure that you're still upkeeping yourself as a woman, because that's something that's super important to me personally. Because when I look terrible, I typically feel, I don't feel terrible, but I don't feel my best. And also, I was spending a lot of money on coffee. I finally have a coffee maker, but if you can imagine how much coffee costs per cup, $2.50 to $5, and I was drinking 2 to 3 cups of coffee a day, depending on if I was in clinical, if I had a lot going on. You can see how spending almost $5 to $10 on coffee a day for months at a time was not a very smart financial decision. But in the time frame, I was just kind of on the go. I wasn't really thinking about it. So always make sure that you're always thinking about your finances, always coming back to terms with what's going on, planning ahead. If you already know that you're gonna need your hair done in 2 to 3 months, for us Black queens, no, I'm just playing. Start planning out and start putting a little money aside, because you know it's coming. So just start being more proactive in having some money aside for not only for yourself, but also some money aside for those unexpected nursing expenses. So that is all for today's video. Make sure that you leave me a comment down below. Y'all know the nursing school is expensive, so let me know down below what expenses you weren't expecting during the nursing school process, because there is a lot. I didn't even talk about the prerequisite expenses and classes and, you know, nursing entry tests and all of that other stuff. Nursing school is extremely expensive, so let me know down below how you're managing things. There are resources out there, scholarships and all that other stuff that is available to us to apply to help us with all of these expenses. So let me know if you want me to do a separate video in sharing all of those things. Also, you guys stay encouraged. I will have more videos to come. I love you guys. Thank you so much for supporting me. We are on the road to 1K, so don't forget to subscribe, okay? Love you. I'll see you later. Let me know all them coins that y'all been dropping on nursing school, okay, down below. I'll see you guys in my next video.
Sunlight that always stays, dinner by the waterway. It's that sweet life. Raise your cross. Made some dude crack a smile. He asked if I could stay a while.